This is the first webcast for the MENA Club by Personal Company. Welcome. Today is 22nd January, 11 a.m. in the Gulf Standard Time. First of all, talking about the MENA Club, you will see here today a few people who are behind this. So together with me, Sophie and Alex, and three of us, we've been talking and working and strategizing and structuring the MENA Club for the last 6 months or so. We all have a retail background. Safir's background is more into the F&B and marketing, and Alex has deep knowledge of convenience retail from around the globe. So why don't you guys just say hello?
Hi, hello everyone.
Good morning.
So those are the people behind the club. Then again, before we start and talking about the specific insights and how things are in the industry, I think looking at the overall picture, and this is something that we've been talking about, we've been mentioning on the online discussions and face-to-face and during the events and so on, there are a lot of changes. Those changing are fast and they are sometimes even scary for the industry. If you think of the anchor categories, the main categories, so in the convenience store in the Middle East, those are tobacco and services, and those categories are under threat. The tobacco is getting more and more regulated around the world, and Middle East is no different. And services, being the top-ups, mobile top-ups, utilities, and so on, are increasingly paid through online means and through apps and so on. So that big chunk of a business is slowly getting away. Consumers are changing as well. They're changing fast. They're more diverse. They're younger. They may be less interested in owning a car if they're Gen Zs. They're extremely connected through digital means, through social media and so on, and they do want their own customized experience. And it's very different from traditional petrol consumer, and we need to do something about it. And lastly, it's worth mentioning EVs. EVs are coming sooner or later. All the countries in the MENA region, they do have their own plans and policies how to get more EVs in place, increase the penetration, and depending on the country in the next 10, 20, 30 years or so, but it is coming. And EV drivers are not our consumers by default, right? So they can charge their cars elsewhere. A lot of change is happening, so that's why we hope we can help the industry to find answers to these changes. But then if you look around the globe, you think of any major continent, a major regional market where convenience retail is operating or is advanced to give or take, you would find some sort of organization, some sort of association that helps the industry get together and find solutions and work together. The largest one for sure is NACS. It's based out of the US, focused on the US, but also has international operations. But if you look at this map around the globe, you will find a lot of those local associations as well. And you will see that in the center of the world, in the Middle East, there's nothing, right? So this area on the map is empty when it comes to the clubs, associations, and business platforms for the convenience industry. And this is where we believe Me2Go will fill in the gap. So this is briefly why we're doing this. And then next one, I will pass it on to Mark, who has kindly joined us today. But just to give you the context, it's important for us to work closely with the NACS organization and exchange the ideas and insights with each other. So Mark, on this, I will stop sharing and I will pass it on to you for you to share your screen, I believe. You're on mute, Mark.
It's 2024. This shouldn't happen, right? I should get used to it by now, but it's still happening. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, and welcome everyone on the call. My name's Mark. I'm with NACS, and yeah, let me maybe talk a little bit about NACS and leading into the Me2Go and why I'm here and why I think this is a brilliant initiative. As Next, we started in 1961 in the US as an association. And as Nico was mentioning, well, we're focused on the US as the National Association of Convenience Stores, NACS. We represent the industry. We do a lot for and with the industry as a not-for-profit organization there. We do everything that the industry needs. And we realized about 20 years ago that whatever issues we are facing in the US, everyone is facing around the world. To Nico's point, there are scary changes coming towards our industry, be it mobility changes, be it EV, be it younger consumers, be it health issues, and so on and so on. So we just need to act and make sure that our industry thrives. And we saw that there's always someone somewhere in the world that is more advanced on an issue than you are, always. And that is when we started branching out, not trying to branch out what we are doing as NACS, as an association, but we wanted to educate ourselves and learn. So we reached out to retailers around the world, and that is what I'm doing for NACS as NACS Global, our initiative, which basically is a network from around the world, where we bring people together to learn across borders. Of course, with the aim for us as a US association to help our US members to make sure that convenience and fuel retail in the US thrives and advances versus the threats that are coming. And whilst doing that, whilst reaching out, we found that there are some associations like us around the world. Nico was showing a map. There are some organizations that are fully focused on convenience and fuel retail like we are, but not in many places in the world. Some countries you have associations that represent grocery retail or some manufacturer associations. And we found it very helpful to just connect, to bring people together to learn from each other. And a lot of associations are really stuck in their area or in their country, very focused on that. And what we are trying as an Axe is to basically support anyone who wants to bring our industry together to make sure we advance as an industry. And we have been doing that for a long, long time. So we work with a lot of associations, clubs, groups around the world that help our industry to advance. Because what we learned is that the best way to move forward is to talk to each other and to learn from each other. Giving you one example, we have a member in the US, Tom. He runs a motorway station, as I would call it. I'm based in Europe. Well, a motorway station in the US is something slightly different. It's like huge. It's like a city on the motorway, and it's a multi-million-dollar operation. But he only has that one side, and he joins us wherever we go in the world, where we have some events and conferences. And we once asked him, "Hey, Tom, why are you doing that? I mean, why are you spending so much time away from your business? Why are you spending all that money to travel?" And we were at his side, and he was like, "You know what? Let me show you. Those shelf tags over there, I picked them up when we had our conference in Warsaw in 2018. That discount label over there that I designed, I actually got that inspiration when we went to Singapore, because they do a lot of these things. You know, the placement I did over there and why I moved the coffee machine over, I saw that when we were in Amsterdam." So he was really picking things up from around the world. And I think this is what we as NACS really try to do, to encourage that people get out, talk to each other, see stores that are different to what you're doing. You will never copy paste something that you see somewhere, right? That is, you can't copy an entire store and be successful with that in a different country, but you can always pick something up. And why is that important? Because if you do that, you're not just supporting your own business, but you're also supporting the industry. And it is important to also keep that in mind. We need to drive our industry forward because there are a lot of threats that are coming from the outside, be it e-commerce, be it hard discounters. be it different consumer behavior, be it sustainability. There are a lot of things that are coming that we can't change or that we don't have an impact on, but we can make sure that we actually as an industry advance. And if we support our industry, we will support our business and our bottom line in the end. And that's what we're supporting. And that's why I think Me2Go is an awesome initiative because yes, Nico, to your point, there is a gap in that region for organized meetings for the industry to get together to learn from each other. And I don't think there is an association. You put a big gap on your map there. I haven't found any, at least. So you're absolutely right. And we are happy to support the Me2Go Club with everything we can, because for us, this is really about growing our industry around the world and making sure we have those platforms that the members of our industry can grow their business. Hope that makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Mark. And also, in terms of just looking at the industry in the
Yeah.
region and around the globe, because you mentioned to us that you visited 21 country last year.
Yes.
Some I don't know, major observations, something that you picked up from 2023, and what you expect
Oh,
from 2024.
absolutely. I mean, we're in a scary place right now when it comes to the world. So if you open up the newspaper in the morning and you read what is going on, it's not good. So immediately you can think that well, you can get into this doom spiral, right? That everything is bad, and there are a lot of really bad things happening in the world. But looking at our industry, um, we have had a good about 5 years past us. COVID times in non-regulated markets weren't so bad for us. Fuel margins were up, volume down, margins up. So our industry was doing well. A lot of consumers that were scared to buy in larger hypermarkets during COVID experimented for the first time to buy fresh groceries at a petrol station. And guess what? They get used to it. They learn that this works. There's good produce there. You can actually buy good products there, and some of that behavior stuck. So we had a good time, and I think it is time to leverage on that to make sure that we keep those customers. Now, this is a development we see around the world in unregulated markets. In regulated markets where fuel prices or margins are set, like in South Africa, that's a different story. Where our industry is in a very bad place there because it is very tough to run a business with convenience in fuel retail. But most of the market really positive. Now, looking forward, another negative that might turn positive for us is the end of free money. Ever since financial crisis 2009, interest rates around the world were really low. And if you had a small startup and you wanted to start whatever, you could get the money basically for free. And that led to a lot of startups, for example, in the last mile delivery scene. There was a lot of investment in Gorillas, Getir, Flink, Deliveroo, Just Eat, and so on. Now, we saw that as a threat. Some of us saw that as an opportunity because we might get into it. We all started to have cooperations with Deliveroo and Uber Eats and so on, but we were suddenly losing our customers to them because they own the data, not us. Now, with the end of free money, it means that currently no one is investing in these companies anymore. And if you look across Southeast Asia, a lot of them actually went bust already. They stopped because the last mile delivery is not viable for a startup like that without the infrastructure and with a basket where the margin is not good enough. Now, that's good news for our industry because we can get our customers back. And we can do that much better than any third party anyway. Now, we need to have the right the right process in place. We have to have the right product. So we need to make sure that we have high margin items in the basket, and we need to make sure that we offer this in urban areas where we have short distances and not covering the entire rural parts of a country. But we can do that as an industry. So that is a negative development in the market that might turn very positive for us. The other thing we see is times are getting tough for the consumer. We have a general consumer income squeeze around the world in a lot of countries, especially in developed markets, where the middle class customer realizes I have less money to spend. That's a negative economic development. But again, it might turn out not too bad for us, because what do people do if they can't afford to spend money? They will cut back on vacations. They will cut back on buying those new appliances if they don't really have to. They will not buy a new sofa if the old one will still do it for the next 2, 3 years. They will cut back on a lot of things, but what they invest in instead is indulgence. They need to treat themselves. They want that chocolate bar. They want that piece of cake. They want that really fancy triple white chocolate mocha with cinnamon sprinkles on top. And guess who's offering that? We are. So what we see from our data around the world is that when times get tough, our industry in convenience retail, especially with immediate consumption, is doing quite well because consumers want to treat themselves. The other thing is that if you have less money, you come fueling, you might not be able to fill your car. You will only top up. But the data shows that if you top up, you still need the same amount of fuel because you still have to get to work and the kids to school and things like that. So you come to our stations more often. If you come more often, the opportunity is there to buy a coffee more often. So more trips usually means more sales. Now, having said that, this is true for the middle class customer that still can afford these things. Things are very different in low income countries. Things are very different with those customers that barely make it. And if they feel the squeeze, we will lose them as customers. They will try to cut down on fuel as good as they can. And we will not be able to sell them that chocolate bar that is for them too pricey. So there's a good and a negative part in that. But overall, if we play it right, if we have the right customer group in store already, we can actually win getting out of this. So I see in general tough economic times around the world. The geopolitical tensions are not getting better. The economic situation is not getting better. And for some time, we will have more bad news in the daily media. But for our industry, I think we're in a good place. Nevertheless, this is short-term thinking. I'm talking about the next 2 years or 3 years. Longer term, there are massive changes on the horizon. Fuel, so fossil fuels, will go away. Not immediately, not massively tomorrow, but it will decline. And we need to make sure that we know the consequences of that. Selling less fuel, even a little bit, means earning a little bit less money, but it also means less trips and less cars. And we need to make sure we know how to cater for that change. Every EV car on the road, and even if in your countries it is just a few EV cars, but those might actually be customers that you're losing because they came fueling once a week and now they don't have to. So we need to think about how to get them in store, how to make our sites a destination for them to come and not just a stopover for fueling. So this is in general what we see in terms of development, a lot of opportunities. The second part I want to mention, and you cut me off if I'm talking too long, right? So, or if you, I don't know, if you're tired listening to me, you just stop
That's
me
okay.
and ask me a question. I have the tendency to talk too much. So the other thing we see is technology, and that is something that is kind of a tricky topic because Technology is advancing so fast, it can help us with so many things. We have a labor shortage in many countries, even in countries that we didn't expect to have a labor shortage. Where we might have enough labor, we can't get enough skilled labor. So we need to think about how technology can help us to train people, to recruit people, but also to replace manual labor where it doesn't make sense to have manual labor. So if you are in a high wage area, country, or in a low unemployment area, then you might want to think about touchscreen ordering systems in store because that replaces the manual labor where a customer can order. If you have a full service fueling, if that is by regulation, okay, then you can't do much about it. But if that is by choice, then you might want to think about educating the customer um, to do it themselves, right? And to have the right equipment in to actually make fueling not such an unpleasant experience. If you are in a market, of course, where labor is cheap, then you might want to actually add that labor because well, that is a level of service that you're offering. Now, all of that means technology will change and you can use technology no matter what situation you're in. If you have a self-service fueling market, and you get people into the store to pay because you don't have pay at the pump, then you need to think about technology in store. If you have a full service fueling market, like I was in Kuwait recently, and that's full service fueling, and with 50 Celsius outside during summertime, you don't want to leave your car anyway. So think about how you can use technology to advertise what you have in store at the pump. So while that person is sitting in their car, waiting for the attendant to fuel the car, give them a message. Make sure that they can see the message. If you just have a pump topper on the side, they might not read that and they might not care. But if you have a display there, something that is maybe personalizing a message, then technology can help to maybe drive conversion into the store. So technology is important. A lot of the people that we engage with around the world, they are overwhelmed by technology right now. And that is quite often because there's so much going on. If you're not a CIO or CTO or something like that, you don't necessarily understand everything that is going on there. And you don't have to. It's not your job. But that means people are overwhelmed. They see unmanned stores and they see ceilings full of cameras and all the software behind it. And they're like, oh, well, I don't need that in my store. I don't want to have an unmanned store. What's important, though, with all that new technology that is out there, to realize or to find how can you take that technology and translate that into something that helps you with your operation. And that doesn't mean you have to go full AI, 120 cameras on the ceiling, no staff in store anymore, everything automated and maybe delivered by drones. That is not it. There are pieces in that technology that we can use to make our lives easier, more efficient, and faster. Just one simple example. Every petrol station I know has CCTV in store, cameras that monitor the store because of theft. As simple as that. Every petrol station around the world has that. Now, at the same time, we use people to go through the store and make an inventory and look at what products are missing on the shelf. So they are mostly going with a piece of paper and a pen and writing things down. In some more advanced areas, we might have actually a digital device and you type it in. But still, we have people using time, using human labor to look at the shelves. Now, if you have cameras up there anyway, if you switch that out for a different type of camera, if you have a slightly different software in the background, that camera can still monitor your store for theft, but also it looks at the shelf and can alert you if a product is out of shelf. And you can replenish it or you can automatically reorder it. So you don't need 120 cameras on the ceiling to create an unmanned store. But the technology out of that, you can use to make your operations more efficient, faster, and more cost effective in the end. So this is probably one of the biggest things we need to realize as an industry and every individual, that we need to spend time on that. We need to look into what is available. How can we use that? How can we adapt it to our specific needs in our stores? So labor shortage, technology, two of the very big topics. And of course, with the economic crisis and geopolitical tensions around the world, definitely some issues ahead for us, thinking about supply chain, but also some opportunities thinking about the consumer.
Thank you so much, Mark. Extremely insightful. I think it's really, really helpful on the kind of overall industry level, global wise. Um, as the last piece, I just wanted to ask you. I know that you traveled to this region, to the Middle East last year, at least 2 times, as far as I know. Um, what stood out for you here in the region? What is maybe something that you picked up as a different or peculiar?
Um, Two things that for me really stood out. One is if you do something, you do it right and you do it big. So when people are looking for new flagship sites, for the latest design, for something that is really big and shiny and new because it has everything in it that you are talking about, I tell people to come to the Middle East, right? Because investments are over average, I would say, at least from the looks of it, when it comes to building new sites, how much you spend on that. And that just shows the confidence that there is in the growth of our industry. And I think it is well placed. I think it is exactly right to do. Um, so I think there is some of the absolute global best practice that you can find in the Middle East when it comes to modern convenience stores, to modern petrol stations, implementing those things that we currently talk about. One example, well, give me two examples from my two visits actually. So one was to Abu Dhabi, and we were at this petrol station where you walk in and you have the coffee counter right at the entrance, and the coffee counter doesn't look like your average coffee counter. It looks like a high class, high end coffee shop. This is exactly what we discuss with our industry around the entire world, is the move from fuel to convenience retail to food service, driven by coffee. And this was the perfect implementation of what we're talking about. So modern implementation of everything that we see. My other example would be from Kuwait, my second visit to the region last year, where the category of convenience retail wasn't really existing, right? It wasn't there. And one player decided to bring it to the market and to start something from scratch. And over the past, I don't know, I think already 10 years, they did a fabulous job to really creating some of the most contemporary looking convenience stores in that region, and very successfully though. So yeah, one thing that really stands out here is um, you are doing a great job in investing in those sites. The other thing that for me was a learning. So I'm based in Europe, and I do travel around the world. And as you mentioned, I visited 21 countries last year. I probably will do the same this year, but still, a lot of my perspectives are, of course, driven from where I am every day in Europe, where it is very, very normal to not have pay at the pump, and where it is normal to have self-service fueling. So the fueling customer quite often, well, most of the times, has to get in store So the conversion rate to get people in store is naturally high because people have to, because they have to pay. And retailers fear implementing pay at the pump because they think they might lose customers in store, which is not the case, by the way. But that's a different story. Now, what was an eye opener for me was what I mentioned before. If you live in an area where it is 50 Celsius outside during summertime, you don't want to leave your car, right? So if you have a full service market for fueling with conditions outside that the driver doesn't want to leave the car, you really need to think about how to create conversion. How do you get people in store? And that is starting with simple things like, if I expect serviced fueling at the pump, what do I do next? Once I paid for my fuel, how do I get that customer wanting to drive 10 meters to stop their car, to park their car as close as possible to the store to get into the store? So the store has to become not just a top up shopping sales point, but a destination. Back to my coffee example, the driver has to think, oh, I have to fuel. So let's stop at station XY. Oh, I really want to get in there and grab a coffee or a tea or a cold drink, or they have the best food of XYZ ever. So I definitely want to get in there. And if you first create that perception, create the knowledge for the customer that they want to go to your store, that's part one. And part two, and that was a learning for me, is um, what can you do to make it easier for them to come into the store? I don't have an answer for that, but let me refer back to the United Kingdom where I am based. It's raining here every day, 365 days a year. Not the whole day, but it's always raining a little bit. Now, that is the opposite of 50 Celsius outside, right? But it's the same situation. If you fuel your car, you don't want to walk through the rain to get into the store. So what did petrol stations do? They extended the roof that you have over the pumps all the way to the shop. Now, design-wise, you might debate that, and there are some debates out there, but it helps the customer to get into the store not getting wet. So that is something to make sure the customer can actually get from the pump into the store. Now, it might not be possible to air condition the entire forecourt when it's 50 Celsius outside, but that's why I said I don't have an answer for that. But let's think about what can we do to make sure that customer in the car, as long as they come fueling, and they will come fueling for a long time. We will lose some of them, but they will come fueling. How can we get them in store? How can we make it easier for them and more convenient to actually connect the fueling and the shopping experience?
That's great. That's great. Maybe next time you will be visiting us, we will show you fully air conditioned petrol station. Right? Who knows? Who
Yes.
knows? No, thank you so much. It's actually straight to the point. It's those are the pain points for the industry here, and something every retail player that I know is in one way or another is looking into. Right. Thank you so much. So on that, let me come back to the little presentation that I was doing, and then also speaking of the kind of overview of the industry, the insights that we have, and pretty much aligned with what Mark just mentioned. We working and will be working as the club with Nielsen, and they kindly provided us with few kind of uh, key highlights of the 2023 and the consumer sentiment as well. And it's actually in line with what Mark was mentioning. So if we will take a look at 2023 here in the region by Nielsen, you will see that in the Africa Middle East region, the FMCG sales are growing, both in the value and units. So overall trajectory is positive. Then if you think of the consumer sentiment, how they feel, still they are feeling cautious about their purchases. They are looking for deals. They're looking for offers, and they actually put a lot of effort into buy their, let's say, products and groceries at lowest price. It is still there. Um, but what is interesting for the Middle East is that the sentiment towards the future, how the next year will turn up, will I feel financially next year, is way higher, way more positive in the Middle East versus the rest of the globe, right? So there's a positive feeling there. Then, if you think of the different channels for the retail, if you think of the hyper and supermarkets, they are still the main channel, and the number of trips um, that customers are doing, still the most of those trips are to the hyper and supermarket channel. However, if you think of the convenience stores, convenience channel, it's the fastest growing format. It grows 2 times faster than the supermarket. So it is the trend that people are coming to the to the convenience channel instead of supermarket more and more. And then if you think of the visits to the offline store, um, it's getting more frequent. I think this is partially from what Mark has mentioned, that uh, you're on a budget. You are, instead of buying a big basket, you're buying a small basket, but more often. That's part of the reason. And the other reason is that, again, as there's no restrictions anymore from COVID times, people just traveling out more, right? So they're getting back into this routine of traveling around. Um, so most of the shoppers visits are getting more frequent, but at the same time, online sales are growing as well. So if you see here the two examples from Saudi and UAE, you'll see that online sales are growing as well. So there is positive dynamic in both channels. So those are the kind of examples of insights that we can get from the industry around the globe, around the region, country-wise, from speaking to experts, from speaking to the research companies, and so on. So what we wanted to show during this call, during this webcast as well, is what you can expect from the MENA2GO club itself, right? So from the membership in the club, what it will give you on the example of the 2024. So overall, if you think of the club, it's, as we call it, eyes and ears to the world. And those are the key elements. Those are the key things that we think we will be able to help the retail and supplier companies with, right? So it's networking, it's tours, it's going and seeing retail examples, it's research and insights, it's innovation, exchange the innovation, and also it's a community of experts, community of people that will help you solve your issues and your problems. Looking at the 2024 calendar, it's full on, a lot of different elements, and not to overwhelm you with one picture, I will go into the details and into the elements. But this is just to give you a taste that throughout the year, there are activities, there are things to watch out for the Me2Go Club. So first of all, the club meetings, and this is one of the key elements of a club. It's when we come together, we talk, we network. We plan for the 2024 4 meetings, face-to-face meetings in the region. The first one will be in February, 21st of February in Dubai, and the following ones will be in Saudi Arabia and in Oman, May, September, and November throughout the year. It's an opportunity to meet your industry peers, for suppliers to meet retailers, retailers meet suppliers. We will have guest speakers from our industry and outside of our industry, whatever sparks kind of thinking and inspiration, and whatever is there for those meetings is included in the club membership, the conference, food, transport, everything. So you don't need to worry about that. Except for travel. If you need to travel to a neighboring country, that's on you. Next on are the study tours. And we're talking here about the study tours within the region, but also outside of the region. So we will be running 3 study tours in the region this year. Again, synchronizing that with the face-to-face meetings. We will do that in UAE, and also in Saudi Arabia. What we aim to do with that study tours is to visit the best examples of retail, both from the fuel and convenience, but also other channels, supermarkets, coffee shops, maybe even pharmacies and other type of retail, whatever is worth visiting. Again, everything that you need to have during the tour is included in the membership when it comes to food, transport. What's most important for me is the inspiration. For sure, you will be inspired with all those visits. Again, travel is not part of it, but everything else is. So it's kind of all inclusive study tours. When it comes to the overseas tours, the cost of those tours are not included in the membership. It's a separate cost, but our friends from NAX have offered us a very kind discount for the club members. And we plan to bring the club members to two of the NAX events this year, one in March in South Korea for the Convenience Summit Asia. And this is an amazing market to see and witness in terms of the convenience retail and also the food service. And also, we plan to go in October to the biggest NAX event, which is the NAX show, which is in Las Vegas this year. So those are the study tours inside the region and outside the region. So all in all, 5 tours. 3 of them are within the region and fully included in the membership. Another thing are the insights and online interactions. So first off, we will be doing a monthly newsletter to the club members with all the latest industry news. Whatever is worth mentioning, any development, we will share that. We will be working closely with Nielsen to get the industry insights and report them back to the club members on a regular basis. But also we will do a similar type of webcasts where we will be sharing those insights online, right, as a follow-up discussion. Another interesting element is the Mastermind webcast, and that will be available for retail companies only. Mastermind webcast is a type of activity where you bring on few people from maybe different companies, different geographies, slightly different background, and they throw and someone can throw in a question, an issue, a problem that they have, and then it's a kind of free flow discussion. Um, Whoever comes up with whatever solution. So it's really just people helping people out. And it's been a extremely effective tool that I personally used as well, and that helped me a lot. And I'm sure that that will be useful for the club members of the Me2GO club. And additionally, depending on what will be the needs of both retail and supplier companies of the club, we will be able to do additional research, be that through Nielsen or other means, depending on what our club members will be needing. We will run that. And this is again back to the point that it's not us um, translating you and sending you messages and telling you what to do. It's really for you, for the industry, to tell us what help you need, what insights you need, what information you need additionally, and we will be able to find a solution, find that insight for you. And then when it comes to the interaction with suppliers, it will be a regular, constant engagement with those supplier members of the club. And what we want to achieve is instead of having suppliers meeting retail companies maybe once a year at a big conference and just trying to sell them whatever they have as a product or solution, instead of that, we have suppliers, maybe less a number of suppliers, but someone who is ready to um, engage and understand the retailers on a deeper level, go throughout the year and engage and talk and discuss and find solutions together with the retailers, not just meeting them once a year, but constantly working with them, walking side by side and trying to find the specific solution specific products that will be catering specific retailers' needs. This is what club is about, right? So bring those people together to work together throughout the year and not just once. And what we also will be doing on a regular basis, I think on a quarterly basis, is supplier innovation webcast. This is where we will give supplier members of the club an opportunity to present their new solutions, new ideas, new products. And I'm sure those conversations, those engagements with the retail members will spark that innovation, and they will come back with new solutions. The number of slots for those supplier innovation webcasts will be limited because it's a quarterly thing. Each webcast will be not more than an hour, so it's 2 to 3 slots per supplier in each webcast. So it's a limited number of slots, but we will make sure that the best innovation will be shared. Another thing that we will be doing is an annual event, annual gala event. We want to add a little celebration for the industry here in the region. Once a year, we will all get together for one event, one evening event, and we can always kind of plan it with other activities where we get and celebrate the achievements and overall that we had one more wonderful year. So we will have that event included in the membership and gala dinner as well. What we plan to do is to synchronize these events with the next events that are happening in the MENA region. For the last 2 years, we had NACS Convenience Leaders Exchange in the region. We will also do that this year, and we will do that together with the ME2GO Club annual gala event. So that will be synchronized. And what we planning to do is to also offer awards to the best retail and supplier companies, members of the club, again, based on the innovation, developments, and achievements throughout the year to celebrate each other and celebrate our achievements of the year. So speaking of the membership packages, if you look at the retail side of things, we have 3 tiers: silver, gold, and platinum. And the main difference of those is as simple as number of people from the companies who can come to all those events and engagements. Silver is 1 person, gold is 2 people, and platinum is 3 people. We do have an offer till 15th of February. We have reduced pricing to join the club. The membership fee is reduced because it's the kind of the first time we're selling those memberships. So we give a little incentive, and you see here the pricing for the retail membership packages: 9, 15, and 20. 250k USD for the retail club membership. Next one is the supplier membership packages. We do have 2 type of tiers for the suppliers: Ruby and Diamond. We specifically chose different words not to mix them up with silver, gold, and platinum. We do have only 2 types of membership for suppliers, for 2 people or 3 people joining all the activities. And the membership fees, again, with the offer till 15th of February only, it's 25,500 USD and 34,000 USD for supplier members. So those are the membership, and this is the club. And as much as possible, we wanted to give you a taste and flavor of what kind of insights, what kind of discussions we would have in the club, what kind of activities we'll have in this year, and hopefully as many companies as possible will join us on this journey to get the industry together, to learn from each other and get better together. And as mentioned, this webcast is recorded, and we will be sharing that online and with anyone who's interested in as well. On that, I will stop, and thank you so much for everyone who was able to join, and looking forward to meeting you here in the region very soon.